What is the difference between Wicca and South American witchcraft? South American witchcraft like the Antilles to the Anglo-Saxons. The Gauls, the Irish call it voodoo. For them it is black magic, and the concept is not incorrect. If it's okay to say voodoo because it's voodoo, the voodoo spiritual forms understood from the African and South America has the capacity to have integrated traditions into a more or less streamlined system throughout Latin America. Throughout Latin America you have cults of original peoples, more than anything in the Andean part, and you have the religions of Afro-matrices in Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay and Paraguay. Then in the north of South America, Colombia, you have Mama Chola, who asked me the other day about Mama Chola. If you want, I'll tell you about the 3 wells and those things, but you don't have to say them. Yes, but when we mean, we mean. Are there some of humanities past this time of the world? The voodoo are divided into 2 kinds of spirits that were lived, embodied as human beings of those humanities in higher civilizations that are prior to our civilization. I don't know about the last 10,000 years. The Sahara Desert was sea. If what is today the Sahara Desert was coasts in Zimbabwe and the Atlanteans had their palaces, yes. All along the coast of what would be the Sahara was sea. Was there a division in Africa? Yes. Africa was divided, and in the Atlantic Ocean you had posts and stops. Yes, for your ships, your boats and so on, that is. The world was connected in a different way. And I'm talking about a time of Atlantis after the collapse of walls. So we're talking about a more recent time. What happens when Atlantis sinks? Many magicians. Since it was sudden and they already knew the anti-transmigration of the soul, it turned out that they managed to remove their soul body with their spirit and get into the case of those who sank into the water. Since the body could not survive, they moved anti-transmigrated, yes, to different faggot creatures. Beyond the idea of panspermia of the ultra-intelligent animals of the sea, many dolphins, many whales that demonstrate intelligence, even superior to man in many things, they are simply magicians who occupied the bodies of marine animals. That is, the Atlantean magicians. The Jew spirits had the ability to anti-transmigrate the soul into different bodies, but it was impossible for them due to a vibratory division, and because their time of being able to download their consciousness again into a human body had ended. It turns out that some did not sink, and those who were not in the area managed to escape. They managed to reach the continent at both ends. Africa was emptied, turned into a desert. The sea probably rose. The tectonic plates and left a couple of islands that are sometimes documented on maps and sometimes not, like Hy-Brasil Island. The tectonic plates and left a couple of islands that are sometimes documented on maps halfway between America and sometimes not, like Hy-Brasil closer to England than to America. The configuration of the societies of that time allowed us to have a very advanced global society. Those magicians did not die. They changed bodies and need to return to matter to rebuild a city of Atlantis again. Those who touched down in Europe became what are today Hyperborean societies, and those who touched down in the West became the ancestral cults of America. They reunited with African ancestral cults from both the south and north of the SA. So, when we talk about South American witchcraft, we can divide the layer of dead we work with. The Ifas work with the Ose, with the Orias, the dead who worship nature in ancestry. And you also have the Buddhas, who are dead Egons of previous humanities who, in the Dominican Republic or in Haiti, are known as the Hudo spirits, or the mysteries of the 21 divisions. It is no more or less than that. It is no more or less than those humanities. They did manage to set foot on land and manage to connect with men. I mean, you have enormous cultural wealth. Yes. Within what Latin American witchcraft is, I could say more than South America. But in South America, animism is fundamental. That is, South America has the ability to integrate Kabbalah, Culte Egan, cult of ancestors, secret and sacred cults of indigenous peoples and African cults in a single system of work. That is what has unified also through that death. All this knowledge of these voodoo expressed through a single prism, the prism of San La Muerte. That's the work of South American witchcraft. In other prisms, it is in the Umanda, in the Kimbanda, in the nations, if in the rules of different regulations, such as the Conga rules, the Congas rules, the stick. If the Santeria, the nation's Cabinda, Xixi Nago, Xixi Ixixia, the Chango of the northeast. The Santeria of Bahia, Brazil, the rule of Ocha. Venezuelan Santeria, Santeria of Gran Colombia, Andean Spiritism of Peru and Bolivia and Chile. All of South America is full of magic. The secret, as a resident of this sacred, imperishable continent, is to agree with our ancestors to come together and look towards the stars, that is our inherent destiny, without a doubt for the entire human race. Good night and good luck.